Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jason Weiss, and I am the host of the Ask Jason Weiss Show. Thank you all for coming here and joining us. Today we have a special episode where we have Chef Michael Jacobs and we have Chef Tova Weiss who are here. And we are going to do a little bit of a Passover tradition. And as well, we are going to do a little bit of I think it's a chicken dish, but I don't want to give away all of the surprises. So I know what Tova is going to be doing, but I do know that Michael likes to have his surprise. So we're going to do. So first of all, this is Tova. You all know Michael. You can always watch his show as well because he's just crushing it in the kitchen, and we love seeing that. And today I am going to be at best a sous chef, but probably more delegated to cleaning dishes and making sure things are done according to the two bosses over here. So the only words I'm allowed to speak once I hand over the microphone are yes, chef. And I learned that by cooking with Michael in law firm kitchens. So Michael will tell you a little bit about himself while we are cooking, because he can talk and cook at the same time. I could barely speak and talk at the same time. I know those are the same thing. So without further ado, happy Easter, happy Passover, happy holidays, happy everything. And we're going to start with Tova and Michael. And my final words are, yes, chef.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks
Jason,
for having me.
All right. So today we are on this side, we're going to be making some haroset. Now, in Passover, the story of Passover, it was when the Jews wore slaves, and this is supposed to represent what they used to build the pyramids, the mortar that they build the pyramids. So we use it as a reminder, as a part of the Seder plate, and we make a sandwich with it and all these other good things. So the main ingredients are apples, nuts, honey, cinnamon, and of course a little manischewitz.
Does it have to be manischewitz?
You know, it should be kosher for Passover wine. It doesn't have to be manischewitz.
Can I use grape juice?
You can use grape juice since you have toddlers. However, they may sleep better.
Good answer. So I don't need the NyQuil.
No NyQuil, no Benadryl, no NyQuil. When you make haroset, do you chop your apples or do you shred them?
You know, that's a great question. I think what in the past when I've made haroset, I like to use it as a condiment. So nowadays, when I was younger, I would dice it and chop it up. Nowadays, I grate it because it's almost like the texture of the apple, depending on which type of apple you use. Do you use a Honeycrisp? Do you use a Red Delicious? These are really important questions when you make it for me, because each apple has a different flavor. If you want a little bit of a sour tart, you can use a green apple, right? Mm-hmm. So with all of that available with your haroset, depending how manischewitz, we know manischewitz is very sweet. So that type of thing, do you want to use a sweet wine and grate it so it penetrates it faster, or do you want to dice it up so that it'll absorb it and it won't become too mushy? I think that's the question in the texture aspect of haroset for me.
Okay, so I have Honeycrisp apples. So what's your recommendation? Because I brought out my grater and my knife.
That's funny. So Honeycrisp is very juicy. They have a lot of moisture in them. So grating them, I think they would disintegrate a lot. And if you want more of a applesaucey type of atmosphere, consistency, excuse me. If you want an applesaucey consistency, I feel like that would be the right way to go. Okay. If you don't, and you want more of a textured, chunky, firm to the bite, I would dice it.
Okay. So
for the
peeled
viewers
them.
that can't see and are just listening through audio, please explain what you've done as I'm eating the skin of the apple to make sure it's edible.
Okay, so I've peeled the apples and I'm starting to cut them up into pieces so that, like Michael said, I like the texture of the haroset. I don't want it to be mushy. So I'm going to go ahead and start chopping it into small bite-sized pieces. You can see, you can make them big, small, whatever's easy to eat.
Now, Michael, while Tova's chopping and cutting, why don't you tell the viewers what we're doing here? Because I know we only have 40 minutes for the show. And if I remember correctly, I think you said you needed about 30 minutes. So while Tova's cutting, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on your side of Florida?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is an Instapot. And because like you were explaining, Tova, for Passover, I remember being actually at a Passover. You and I discussed this the other day. I remember being at your house for a Passover meal. And I got inspired last week to do an Instapot dish for my family because I wanted to use up some stuff. And I also wanted to do stuff for our podcast and for our YouTube channel, Chef MBJ. So the YouTube channel, I do a lot of different cooking, but I thought Instapot would be great for people. Even a slow cooker or a Dutch oven would be a really good option for this type of dish. So when I went to your house years ago, I remember you making a dish with chicken, and I thought it was with chicken thighs, and I could be wrong, but I remembered it originally had prunes, I think you told me, and you changed it for sun-dried apricots or something like that.
Right, because I don't like prunes.
Right. So it was that sweet and savory together, and I really like that. So I have a dish that I'm starting to make for my kids, and they loved it last week. So I'm going to start getting that ready. And I just took some stuff that I had around the house. I have chicken thighs. You know, we keep them in the freezer. We buy bulk. So I just keep them in the freezer. And the reason I like to use chicken thighs is because they're really great for cooking in stews, and they really hold up and they don't dry out when you're cooking. You know, like chicken breast will dry out if you overcook it or if you leave it for too long. So something like this, I think, is really good for my family. Plus, for family cooking and for home cooking, stews, one pot wonders are really great for people.
Yeah.
And the other thing is this, as having toddlers, and now Tova and I have adult children because they were on the show last week, their taste and what they want to eat changes on a daily or a weekly basis. So while you can get them in with a stew, go for it. Load them up, because in 2 weeks, Daddy, we don't want this anymore. We want chicken nuggets. We want, want Wagyu beef sliders.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's a really good point. We've started, so we changed pediatricians, and I'm sure nobody really cares about this, but we changed pediatricians, and I had to figure a way to get my son to eat more vegetables. And being a chef, I'm like, how am I going to get this kid to eat greens? He won't eat greens. All he eats is starch, 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 as most toddlers do, right? So, and we limit his amount of dairy and all this other stuff in today's world, yada, yada, yada. Long story longer, I decided to make smoothies, and I use this brand called Haya that has all these nutrients that are organic and yada yada. With it's a powder, so I make almost like a protein shake. So I call it a smoothie form, but now I started putting in spinach and broccoli raw into it, and then I add
broccoli in a smoothie.
Yeah, the kid has no idea. It's raw broccoli, raw spinach, and I throw it in there with a couple strawberries. I put in tiki milk, which is it's made out of not pea, Jason. Peas. I already knew it before I even said it. I go, Jay's gonna laugh. I already know. So it's made out of
protein.
peas, the green ones, not the yellow. And it's called Kiki, Kiki, Kiki milk. And what I do is I take that, I blend it up with a little ice, and I put 2 scoops of this Haya powder, which has a chocolate flavored with all the vitamins. The kid will drink 2 of them. Like
Wow.
nobody's been 2 12-ounces. He calls it a chocolate smoothie. I said, all you want, buddy, all day long.
Wow.
Sometimes I throw some coconut water in there. Say again?
Well, we got to make sure that minor child does not watch this anytime soon, because he'll say, Daddy, I don't want broccoli in my chocolate smoothies no more. So be careful.
The problem, yeah, he's 3.
Does the Kiki milk have protein?
Yes, it does.
Like pea protein?
Yeah, I think it's 5 grams for every 8 ounces or something like that. I got it. You know what? Let me grab a bottle.
But Michael, you said he's only 3. That means he's been on YouTube and watching videos for about a year now. So
Correct, exactly. This kid, he's been watching Luli Pompin from Spain.
now
Yeah,
we
5
need to
grams
watch
of
Daddy's
plant
cooking
protein.
show.
He needs to do that. Yeah, we need him to do that sooner than later, hopefully. I really would like that. I need more likes. Everybody, I need more thumbs up, and I need more subscribers.
So tell everybody how to find your show. Of course, you have a show here
Right.
on
Yes.
Tuesdays. So we want everybody watching that. But if you can't get enough of Michael, you can also find him on YouTube.
Is it
I have
every Tuesday?
Chef. Yes, every Tuesday we have a show on YouTube on the Going Solo Network, and we promote everything from home cooking to business cooking, being that it's private catering or buffets, or my favorite, repurposing whatever's in the refrigerator with
Yeah, I like
leftovers.
that one.
That's my favorite show.
Yeah, me too.
But we answer a lot of questions, and it's a really fun, simple show. Like yourself, it's 40 minutes, and we try to get people to email us and message us on YouTube and Instagram so that we can follow up on the next shoot to let them know the answers.
All right. So Tova, you've chopped up.
All right, so I have a bowl of chopped apples.
How many apples did we use?
I used about 2.5, 3. We've got someone snacking in the background, eating up some of the other apples. Thank you, Grandma. All right, so then next, I like pecans. I'm not a big walnut liker, so I pick
agree.
things that I like. I find walnuts are, have a very strong flavor.
Right. I think walnuts are for certain things, like pies and cakes and stuff. Maybe even some muffins, but I'm not a big walnut guy.
I will choose to not put that in.
Yeah.
So we've got some pecans that are being opened. I bought chopped ones just to make it easier and fast. So we've got about 2.5, 3 apples. This is 8 ounces of pecans. I'm gonna use like half the bag.
Oh, wow.
Well,
So
what
like
are you
half a cup.
And what are you doing over there while she's?
While you're doing that, I'm going to get started on the chicken. And I'm trying to get fancy here, right? See how I have the camera zoomed in on the food there?
Yes.
On the cutting board.
You are.
Right? You like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I'm going to sprinkle in some cinnamon to the mix.
So you have cinnamon, apples, and pecan.
No,
Do you say pecan or
No,
pecan?
I say pecan.
She's from Atlanta. It's pecan.
Lamb.
Yes, I
Got
get made
it.
fun of by my daughter. She's like, it's pecan. And then I'm going to squeeze in a bunch of honey.
Boy,
So
you
do you
guys
say,
are really
do you
testing
say
me.
aunt or aunt?
We got pea in cans. We got pea in smoothies. I mean, you guys are getting me.
There we go. I knew it. All the puns for the guys.
And how much honey did you just put in, Tova?
Okay, so I probably put half a cup of pecans, about 1/4 cup of honey, because honey is delicious. Maybe like a teaspoon or 2 of cinnamon. And then I'm going to add in the Manischewitz. Thank you.
Inside.
Thank you. Oh, that's inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it matter what type of honey you use?
I don't think it does. Since it's Passover and you're supposed to clean out the house of all of the chametz, like any remnant, like leaven stuff like bread and rice and all the things that you're not allowed to eat. I always grew up that we opened like new condiments for Passover.
Mm-hmm.
So just to make sure that there was no cross-contamination. So
Understood.
we like golden blossom honey, like this one.
Uh-huh. Good brand.
So it's a new bottle.
I love it.
So that's what we've always done. And then you mix it up and then taste it and see what it's missing.
I like it. So while you're doing that, that looks good. That looks really good. So that's going to sit and marinate for a little bit so the flavors come together.
Uh-huh.
Would you adjust it with any salt, pepper, sugar, anything else, or just add more honey? Does it get a touch of acidity like lemon juice to help bring out anything, or do you add?
So that you don't have to reuse the same spoon.
I don't.
Okay, just curious.
I actually think it needs more pecans.
Even better. Do you toast the pecans? Can you toast them in advance?
You can. I have not. I'm very,
I like that.
do this quick and easy.
Yeah, I like the idea of grating it, and I like, or chopping it, depending on which apple you're using.
Yeah.
Speaking of chopping, yep.
Go ahead.
I took one medium onion and I chopped it up in I would say 2, 4, 6. I'd say 12 pieces of medium-sized chunks, or medium dice, for lack of a better term. And I'm just going to put that into the pot. And now I add, which is my favorite part, is so I go to the store, and like I told you, my kids are really into, starch. So I have like sweet potato, I have red potato, red bliss. Then I can buy a medley, of the creamers and Peruvians or whatever, right? So I buy them all, and I put an assortment of potatoes in there. So it's like almost like a treasure hunt. And I rinse them all off, and I'm throwing them straight on top of the onions.
Okay.
They must get that love for starch from Uncle Jason.
Well, Uncle Jason's the only guy I know that goes to a fine dining restaurant and can order double starch, mashed potatoes and rice, please.
No, not anymore. Now I'll do some steamed vegetables, and I will do the rice.
Right, and we don't need to hide it from him. Not anymore.
I'm learning.
Well, I want you to make them a smoothie.
Yeah, although I do hide the vegetables in my chicken soup.
Well, I like your puree idea.
Yeah, I take all the vegetables after it's cooked
that.
and put in the food processor and put it back in, so that he's always like the soupy soup and not the vegetables, but he'll
He's a broth guy.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with the potatoes? You're cutting them.
So I rinse the potatoes, and I'm just giving them. What I'm doing is I'm dicing them to the same size the onion was. So what I like to do, and I use the Instapot so things cook at certain rates. Onions sweat down. Potatoes will cook and steam and absorb the liquid and as we move forward. So depending on the size and how it's cut, that's what we're going to do in the long-term aspect of cooking it. So basically, when you add everything, now these are little creamer creamer potatoes. I just put them straight in there. And then I got sweet potato. And again, like I said, with my kids, I just make it a game of find the colored potato in the stew and tell me what potato it is. So they get right into it. So I put a lot of potato. I put onions in there already, right? And then
them all about the same size, so they cook the same.
Yes, exactly. So everything's cooked. The sweet potato will gradually take the longest. So what I like to do is layer it. I know how the steam's going to rise up in the Instapot. So that's why the sweet potatoes are on the top.
Okay.
So heat rises, right? So I put them on the top where I put the onions and the lighter potatoes on the bottom. So they're more sauteing and kind of just heated up through the bottom, and the steam cooks on the top of it. So I have chicken. Like I said, I have my chicken thighs. I love just keeping them whole. I'm not going to make it crazy for anybody. So all I'm doing is taking the whole pieces of chicken thighs. If you want to use bone in, you want to use the skin, or skinless, it's really up to you guys. I'm not picky about it. It's really whatever you have at your house and are comfortable with. Now I'm going to go wash my hands. Give me a sec.
All right. So while Michael goes and washes his hands, we're going to thank the Going Bold Network, and we're going to thank them for allowing us to be on this platform and for supporting us for all these years. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back where we can taste test the haroset, and Michael's chicken will be done. So take it away. Let's see our commercial. Oh, you caught me. I'm eating the haroset. It is so good. So I'm Jason Weiss. This is the Ask Jason Weiss Show. Since I've given no legal advice today, I haven't had to put my disclaimer in there, but I'll do it anyway. I'm not your lawyer, obviously. Today I'm just a taste tester. Nothing discussed on anything in this show is legal advice. Should you need legal or financial advice, go hire someone. You can contact me. I'm happy to help. Right now, I just want to eat haroset. So we got Michael, who is doing an Instapot chicken dish. And so far we've had onions, sweet potatoes, normal potatoes, chicken thighs. And is that tomatoes that are in there?
I put some grape tomatoes because that's what I had. I have some mushrooms on the top for me. And then I just added a little bit of dry thyme and dry oregano, some salt and pepper.
So as that's cooking, just real quick, what Tova did was the haroset, which again,
Yes.
3 apples chopped up, about 3/4 of a, so it's 6 ounces of pecans, a cup of wine, a sprinkle of cinnamon, and a little bit of honey. Mixed it all together, and boy, is that so good. And
Is that delicious or what?
made for Michael's toddlers.
Yeah.
So Michael is now adding what to his soup? Or excuse me, his
I'm adding broth. Whoa, that's twice I made a mess. All right. So I'm adding this is chicken bone broth. You can add chicken stock. You can add whatever you want to this. You can add water. You can add white wine. You can add any kind of cooking liquid you want. Just make sure that when you,
so healthy.
I'm sorry.
There's so many benefits for the bone broth.
That's one of the reasons, as we were discussing before, for the kids. So what's great about this pot, like I said, Instapot, right? It's just kind of like the old days. I mean, I don't know about everybody that's watching, but my generation, the Ron Propeel back in the day, set it and forget it, kind of thing with the chicken. So this is the Instapot's the same way in my mind. I'm just going to let this cook, and I put it on slow cook. Pressure level, I put it on low, or normal, which, low to medium, depending on what you want. And then it's all ready to go. I have it on for 32 minutes. You can put it on for 40 minutes. It's really what you want. But I think if you prep it and you start when you get home, and you put the pot straight in, and then you come in, you turn it on, and all you got to do is go change, do your hair, whatever, relax. It's already cooking for the family. You put a pot of rice on, you put pasta if you want. You don't need any of the other starches, but you could do it. And then this thing's just going to cook. And when it cooks, the best part about it is all those beautiful flavors are going to come together. So with that, we have the chicken, thighs, and so forth. You can do this dish with anything else that you want. If you want to put some drumsticks, if you want, you can do it with drumsticks. You can do it with lamb shanks would be nice too, but I'd sear them first.
Okay.
Anything. The Instapot is like, since I had kids, it's like one of my best friends, right? So slow cookers, Instapots, and even the air fryer. I love the air fryer, but I'm very specific with my air fryer. It has to be the square box one, the Cuisinart one. I'm not a big round air fryer guy. So yeah, is that the round one or?
No, I'll show you.
So while she's doing that, I'll ask the question when she's done.
It's dueling.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it has two sides and there's a match cook and lots of different features.
So on this, Michael, with the Instapot, for somebody that knows nothing about cooking, obviously, how do you know when it's done? Do you just set it for a certain amount of time and does it turn off?
That's the best part. That's the best part about Instapot is you can just set it and you can have timers. There's timers on here too. So I can tell it to do a low pressure and keep warm. I can put the pressure level and I can put timer. So I want it for 28 minutes and I press, start and it'll start. Everything will go. Slow cook. I have meat stews. I have all these different options on here. You can even hit it to pressure cook. All these wonderful options to do it. So I think, and the way I use mine, obviously you read your directions, but my Instapot, I just put it on the poultry and I let it go. Now, if I switch it up and I cancel and I put it on meat stew, it has a preset. So everybody's different. The reason it says high pressure, most of your meats that you're gonna stew or cook in an Instapot need a lot of breakdown time.
Right.
So I'm sorry?
Because you're using a tougher cut of meat?
Correct. So that's why, different timing. So I set this one though, because when I use the chicken thighs, I know the chicken thighs take a little extra time rather than a chicken breast for me. Mm-hmm. So what I love about it, like I said, is I just cook it up and let it sit and it's on and let it go. And I can go now, like I said before, if I have some emails to answer or I got to go run out and pick up the kids, I'm not worried about this thing being on. I can go pick up the kids and, everything's great. Go grocery shopping if I need to or whatever it is. I know that this is a one pot cooker. That's great for me. So when I'm done with this, what I've done is I let it sit. And when it sits, I like to let it sit for an hour or two in the pot and let it cool down in its own liquids. A lot of people, when they cook something in a liquid, specifically like a braising item, they'll take it out and they'll cool it separately than everything else. One of the misnomers and the big mistakes is that you're drying out your product. What's going to happen is that as it cools in the liquid, as it's cooling in the pot, it's also absorbing more of the liquid. So it stays nice and moist, which is a key secret. Right. So anytime you braise something, back in the day though, we used to do duck confit, when you're cooking something in its own fat and its own liquid. And if you're cooking, like say the duck legs, you cool it in the fat for the same reason. You don't want something dry. When you pull it out and air dry it, now you're creating an atmosphere where it can absorb what the area is outside instead of absorbing the fluid and liquids that it's in normally.
Right.
So I had a couple questions about your haroset. What, if you're going to make it in advance, how far in advance would you make it? And do you have to let it sit, or do you think, one answers the other, but if you can make it in advance, do you let it sit? Do you only add all, certain ingredients? Would you add all of them, etc.? How does that work with you?
Okay, so I would make it, you can make it at least a day ahead and just put it all together and let it sit in the fridge. So after trying the chopped one, I'm like, I think I like it shredded better because
So, right.
then it's more of like a spread, where this is kind of reminiscent of like, I don't know if it, I mean, it's not cooked, so it can't be like a chutney, but it's more of like, I'm trying to think, what would you
Salsa?
consider? Like a
Like a
topping,
salsa?
right? So like that. So, but I mean, it still tastes delicious.
It's
So
funny. So I'm going to grab mine from last night and show you what we had.
okay.
And it's funny because my mom, who is here but doesn't want to be on camera, we gave her a little bit of the haroset when we went to commercial, and she said, "Oh my God, this is delicious! I could eat it; it's sweet as candy." But her comment to Tova was, "Isn't it usually browner? I expect it to be brown." And there's Michael's showing that
Nice
it's
and brown.
brown. Science says it's brown because ding, 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 former science teacher.
Because it was exposed to the air without limiting.
Oxidized.
I
Correct.
was going to say oxidation, but I didn't know if you knew that word.
He knows that word.
William actually knows it, which scares me. Anyway,
Of course he
so-
does.
The two things Michael needs: oxygen and sedation. We
Right.
get it.
Yeah.
Oxidation.
So mine, which I'm going to show you, I'm going to grab the spoon and show you. It's a little bit more. It's not shredded, but it's more almost like a puree of mini dice,
Yeah, I'm thinking of throwing it in
and-
the food processor.
right? So if you did that, that's what it would look like, right? So, but what's nice is the stability of whatever the texture, the texture of whichever apple you decide to go with allows for it to hold up or disintegrate within it. And
Right.
what's great about mine, the one that you made, you can really get a lot of use out of it moving forward, because now you can add it to various dishes. You can take that, like you said, you eat it as a spread, but now you can use it as a base for a salad dressing. You know, you can you could take a couple tablespoons, whisk it up, or even throw it in the blender with some olive oil. And if you want, hit it with something, maybe a pinch of, red wine vinegar or whatever you want if you need an acid, and
Maybe
puree
some
it up.
cherry vinegar would be good.
Sherry vinegar, yeah, some aged sherry vinegar. And then now you got a nice dressing for salad because you already have all the ingredients in there.
Right.
And then you could do your pecans, toast them
We need
up.
to make a salad for tonight.
So
There you go.
you mentioned the types of apple. Do you think you could do that with a Granny Smith?
It's funny. I think it really depends on what type of haroset you're looking for and what you're serving it with. I think when you're creating your menu for dinner and your meal, I think it's important to figure out, what are you putting it on? What's the accoutrement? What's it accompanying on that menu, so to speak? So, for example, can the haroset go good with, the chicken tonight? Would they go balanced out, each other? Or can I take some haroset instead of applesauce and put it on my potato latkes? Will that work out? These are things that I would think about depending on what apple I'm going to use. So to answer your question, yeah, you can use a Granny Smith if you want. You can use a Honey Crisp like Tova's using. You can use a Red Delicious, anything, the green Granny Smiths that are really tart and soury, that you love. Those are great for like when you make an apple pie, because you got that, you add so much sugar that you have that sweet and sour kind of aspect. So maybe that would be good. I don't know. It really depends on what the rest of your menu is, in my opinion, when you pick out the type of apple.
Now, for the dish that you're making, that's it. You don't do anything, and when the timer goes off, so
that's so nice.
Let's fast forward to that. When the timer goes off and it says I'm done, I did listen, and you said you let it cool down in the pot so it absorbs all of the juices.
Correct.
And what do you do with it?
So then I'm going to show you. I have some of the items cooked up, and I'm going to put a plate of it together with some steamed rice because, like I said before, my kids are double starch. So I'm going to, exactly. I'm going to plate that up with you. Now, one of the other things I'm learning is I added last week I was able to add dates to it because we get these great dates, Jason. You know them as well. The perfect date.com is excellent, and they have a delicious product. So the Majol dates are awesome in here too, which goes back to your. I'm sorry.
It adds sweetness, right?
Right. So I can do that. I also put them in Williams smoothies from time to time, which I don't tell them. And, you can add that to it, or you could repurpose it because you know how they're nice and dry. You could chop them up and then just finish it at the end when you're reheating it and add it in. So you keep little bites, little pieces of sweetness that didn't break down so that it entices you to come back for more. So let me just go off camera and grab the plate, and I'll show you what it looks like.
Sounds good.
So yeah, we got some great dates, and I want to thank Annette. Thank you so much for the phenomenal dates.
Yeah, they're delicious.
They're awesome, and I'm actually in the process of, we've eaten a bunch of them, and I have replanted them. So I have some dates that are growing outside on my patio. You can't see them in the window, but they're behind us there, and hopefully in the next 2, 3, 4 years, I will have dates of my own. Because it has been a slow growing process, but I didn't read a book. I didn't do any research. I literally just started growing them, and boom, they took off. So
sounds good.
It's next to my pineapples.
So I love this idea of the Instapot. Unfortunately, we don't have one. I'm not hinting that
you don't necessarily need an Instapot. You can use a slow cooker.
We don't have a slow cooker either.
Well, you have a slow cooker. That would be me.
So how could we make this dish?
Hold on one sec. I'm almost back, but I wanted to get the rest of it.
I keep looking at the bowl of haroset, thinking that would probably be good on a spinach salad. With the apples and the nuts and.
So Michael, the question was, since we don't have a slow cooker, is there something that we could do here to replicate a slow cooker?
How can we make it? How can we make that dish
Right.
a slow cooker without an Instapot?
So I'm going to tell you, my thought process is very simple. I think a Dutch oven would be really good for you. You can use those. We used to have them growing up. The casserole dishes with the tops. It's a very simple and similar process where I would again layer everything pretty much the same way, except I would put the heavier potatoes on the bottom, reverse it. You follow me? Just reverse that aspect. And then go from there. But it's all about one pot, cooking for me. So a casserole dish is beautiful. And it's going to take not 27, 28, 30 minutes. It's going to take maybe 45, an hour, give or take. But it's the same theory again. If you have, there you go. Yeah. So you could put that whole thing in the oven.
Right.
So that's exactly what I would do. I just throw it in at 375 for the first, 25, 30 minutes to get it going. And then I'd turn it down to 350 for the rest of the time and call it a day. Obviously, you check your chicken when it's done. Make sure that it gets to 165, so we don't have any salmonella or E. coli. E. coli or any other health hazards.
I'm glad I was able to contribute. All right, so I taught you well. Good.
See,
all right. So what do we got, Dad? I'm hungry. All
right. So here we go. So it's not the most beautiful plate. But what's important about it, specifically with my kids, is that I can disguise everything. So what I have in there, and what I'm doing is I have rice, I have mushrooms, I have onions, I have potatoes, and then the chicken I can shred up. You can shred it if you want. You can chunk it now because it all cooks together. But as you mix the pot afterwards, what I do is once the final one is done, let me rephrase that. Once it's finally done cooking and it's cooling, I give it a mix. At that point, if you want, you can break up with your spoon or your spatula or whatever you're cooking with. If you want, you can break up the chicken pieces. You can shred it. You can pull them out and shred it and put it back in so it absorbs like we talked about. But what's great, like I said, is the kids will eat the mushrooms and think that it's all part of the chicken. The onions, they'll think it's all part of the chicken. They think everything is the chicken for me. And I would, I'd love to put some carrots in there. I'd love to put a bunch of other colorful peppers and such, but I got to be careful because they won't eat the colors. So this is your boring brown, beige, and white dish that, they pretty much love.
So Michael, that looks incredibly brown, but something that I would eat.
Yeah.
And again, you could spice it up if you wanted it with various different colors, but unfortunately, that's not going to be for today's show because I just got note that we're done. So I want to thank Michael. I want to thank Tova. I want to say happy Passover, happy Easter, happy holiday weekend to everybody. Everybody stay safe, stay happy. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And don't forget to check out Michael's show on Tuesdays on the streaming network. Go bold. Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone. We're out of here. Have a great one.
Bye.
Thank you.